Welcome back. Let's take a look at this right angle ABC. We're given the following information. The measure of DBC is 73 degrees. We want to know the measure of ABD. Now this is a definition of a complementary angle, or a pair of complementary angles. We know that ABD plus DBC is going to equal ABC. And we know ABC is 90 degrees because it is a right angle. So we know that to find ABD, we simply subtract 73 degrees from 90. And that'll give us 17 degrees, which is this angle right here. Okay, not a whole lot to it. We did a few of these in the previous video. This is just finding the angle when we know we have a pair of complementary angles. We know it's complementary because we have the right angle. And complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So, fairly straightforward. Let's take a look at the next one. This one we're given quite a bit of information, or actually a little bit of information. We want to find out quite a bit of information. So let's go ahead and jump in. We want to find one pair of vertical angles. Now we know a pair of vertical angles is when two lines intersect, and we want the two angles that are across from each other, that aren't adjacent. We should know the difference between adjacent and vertical angles by now. A vertical angle is, we have two lines right here, and it's going to be, one pair is this angle right here and this angle right here. So we're going to have angles, angle ACD, ACD, not ACB, ACD, and angle FCE. These two angles are called vertical angles, and that's because this line and this line are both straight lines, and the two angles across from each other, the non-adjacent angles, are called vertical angles. All right, fairly straightforward. Let's take a look at the next one. We want to find one pair, a linear pair of angles. A linear pair of angles is a pair of angles that add up to make a straight angle. So we have a straight line right here, ACE, or just AE, and these two angles right here will make a linear pair, this angle and this angle. So we have the angle ACD and the angle DCE. These two angles are what are called linear pairs. We also have another linear pair because on the other side of the straight line we have ACB and BCE. So these two angles are also another linear pair. They converge to give us a straight line. So let's take a look at the next. So far so good. We have we want to find two complementary angles. Well, we saw in the previous example that a complementary angle is comprised of, well, in this case, two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So two angles that combine to give us a 90-degree angle is a pair of complementary angles. And here we know we have a right angle, a 90-degree angle. So these two angles, BCF and FCE, are complementary to one another. So we can say that angle BCF and angle FCE are complementary. We should be very familiar with complementary by now. We've done a few videos on it so far. So let's take a look at the next one. We want to find a pair of supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are just two angles that combine to give us a straight angle. And it's actually going to be the same as a linear pair. By definition, a linear pair is the same thing as a supplementary angle, or a pair of supplementary angles, excuse me. So we have ACE here, so we're actually going to have the same answer as the linear pair. So the angle ACD is supplementary to the angle DCE. Excuse me, I'm running out of room here. Let's move over a little bit. Okay, so ACD is supplementary to DCE. Fairly straightforward. Now let's take a look at the next set of problems. We're given the measure of angle FCE. We're told that this angle right here is 65 degrees. And we want to find the following angles given the measure of this angle. Alright, so let's find BCF. BCF is this angle right here. And we'd find it actually in the same manner as we did up here. We were given this angle, and we wanted to find the smaller angle. So all we do is simply subtract 65 from 90. So we have 90 minus 65. That gives us 25 degrees. So this angle right here is 25 degrees. All right, let's take a look at the next one. We want to find ACB. ACB is this angle. So we know that ACE is a straight line, and this angle right here is a 90-degree angle. So two angles that add up to give us a supplementary angle, or excuse me, a straight angle, are going to be supplementary. So since this is a 90-degree angle, then this is going to be a 90-degree angle. We find that by subtracting 90 from 180, which gives us a 90-degree angle. So two 90-degree angles will always give us a straight angle, which makes perfect sense. Let's take a look at the next one. We have ACD. So we want to find this angle right here. So this angle, we found out earlier that this angle is vertical. It's a vertical angle to this angle. These two angles are called vertical angles. And one thing we know about vertical angles by definition is that they're equal. They're congruent. So the measure of angle ACD is going to be the same as FCE. And we actually found, or we're given, excuse me, the measure of the angle FCE. So the measure of angle ACD is going to be the same, which is 65 degrees. Okay, so the information we found out up here actually helped us out down here. All right, let's take a look at the last one. We have DCE. We want to find the measure of this angle. And we actually can use the information we just learned. We know that this is 65 degrees, and we know that these two angles, if we look up here, these two angles are supplementary. So we know that they're going to add up to give us 180 degrees. So all we simply do is subtract 180 and 65. That'll give us this angle right here. All we're doing is taking this whole angle, this 180 degree angle, and backing it off 65 degrees. And that's going to give us 115 degrees. Oops, excuse me, 115 degrees. Okay, so fairly straightforward, just using what we know about complementary and supplementary angles, and also linear pairs of angles. We know that those are the same thing as supplementary angles. And then vertical angles, we know that that's the opposite angles when we have two lines, the non-adjacent angles. And by definition, we know that those are congruent. All right, so very useful information. Go ahead and take a look at this a few more times just to make sure we've got this down. And we'll actually use this throughout geometry. This is just, like I said, the basic building blocks of what we'll be dealing with throughout the course. So I'll see you soon.